Vampires. Twilight-born facts. One of our visitors forwarded a question to our investigating mythology team, inquiring about vampires. Since I personally found this myth fascinating, due to the attention it managed to capture across centuries of legends and tales throughout human cultures, ancient and current in all languages and tongues, and last magnified by Hollywood in the manner that revived and perpetuated it while exaggerating its suspense for commercial purposes. Vampirism, in origin, is very ancient. The first record of this myth goes back as far as ancient Egypt. But before we start detailing vampirism, let us begin with separating the Dracula myth from the original vampire's legend, so that we do not confuse facts from fiction. Dracula myth is based upon Romanian history dating back to the actual historical tyrant character whose nickname was Dracul. In Romanian, Dracul stands for devil. Due to his harsh treatment of the local peasants of the region, he bloodily governed with his family for a considerable time. His true name was Vlad II, later Vlad Dracul. His reign began on his comeback from Transylvania in the Carpathian Valley to Wallachia in 1430s. Local law spoke of his tyranny and his impaling methods as a punishment for those who dare in any way to oppose him. There also was a legend circling around one of his siblings, who according to local myth, used to bath and drink blood to preserve her youth. But since Dracula is not our main topic, we will settle for that much on him and go back to vampires' myth in history and origin. I will start with its mentioning in the Emerald Tablets, since I regard it to be more pure reference and more ancient than the rest of ancient folklore. Blood-drinking creatures of shadows in the Emerald Tablets, later known to be as demons in all known human mythology, theology and culture. Having begun with that, I would want to add up that blood-drinking was also exercised by many ancient tribes all over the ancient world, starting with Middle East, where culture all began spreading through till the Dark and Middle Ages of pagan practice in medieval Europe. The rising vampirism began with the ancient Egyptian order of Aset-Ka. Its members were believed to be the first vampires born of an ancient immortal kinship, granted life out of the dark kiss, as an act of creation. Ka in ancient Egypt stood for the dark, the anti and the negative forces. The warrior goddess of ancient Upper Egypt, Sekhmet, was first known to drink that red nectar of life, blood. She was the ultimate hunter who guided the foes in their battles and led them to victory, the protector of Upper Egypt, highly revered with her own cult and temple, and her color was red, a symbol for blood. A Middle Eastern belief still exists till today that every human has a Ka, or a negative companion. In Arabic it is called the Karin. Though this Ka or Karin still holds a hidden mystery in its substance, nevertheless it is regarded as of non-human origin, being mainly of jinn, assigned to tempt and lure mankind away from the path of enlightenment. In ancient India, Sekhmet had an equal whose name was Kali, a revered goddess of destruction, negative powers and presence, portrayed in one of Indiana Jones' movies as Kali Ma. Vampire tales are also recognized by ancient Mesopotamia, ancient Greece and Rome. They were the emperors it described as the Lamia and Styges, and later it stood for witches and demons. There is also a trace of it found with Hebrew culture as Lilitu, though identified as demons subsisting on babies' blood in those days, and not what Hollywood portray. Those were the days of magic and mysticism. Note that the word magic with a K stands for the real art of black magic, no trick involved. In ancient Persia, pottery with the blood-sucking creatures were found. In Babylonia and Assyria they were known by the name Lilitu. Note that the word Lilitu is a reference to darkness and night, for even in modern Arabic language of today the night means layl. In medieval Europe history records mentioned investigation of vampirism cases and even public execution of suspect vampires. According to European legends, vampires were described as ruddy and bloated with purplish skin, though in ancient Indian Kali Ma had fangs. In European lore vampires lost their fang to ancient history somehow. As I mentioned earlier, Europe. On several occasions I need to specify that the whole of Europe, for in Russia the earliest record of vampirism dates as far back as 100 AD, and similar folklore spread amongst all of the Slovak, Turks or Tatar and other contemporary races of that time. According to Oxford English Dictionary, it was first referred to in England in the 1730s, whereas in Germany in the 1720s. In fact, some relate the word vampires to be a derivative of German vampire. The most common ritual to identify a vampire grave was to lead a virgin young boy through a graveyard on a virgin white stallion, believing the horse would balk at the suspected grave. In Africa, the Ashanti, the Ewe and in the Eastern Cape region also have folkloric tales of all sorts of vampires, who can take an insect form or other animal forms and bring havoc, especially on wandering children. Actually, it is not an exaggeration to say that one will find a trace of vampires in every single known ancient and contemporary culture around our world. Modern belief in vampirism is mainly Gothic and fictional, influenced by the Hollywood syndrome. When the Church split in 1054 AD, the Roman Catholic Church disputed that the corpse which appeared to be living was of a saint, whereas the Orthodox argued it belonged to a vampire. Many incidents of staking corpse suspect of vampirism were also recorded in the whole of Eastern and Western Europe in the medieval era. Indeed, thanks to Bram Stoker for his novel Reviving Vampirism and the infamous Dracula. Hoping you will find the answers that quenches your thirst for knowledge. I bid you all a safe and peaceful night, and just for precautions I suggest you place beside your pillow some garlic and a fine sharp steak just in case. One never knows what lurks in the darkness of nights.